It started like any other routine flight, the kind the pilot had done countless times before. The sky stretched out in an endless canvas of deep blue, the horizon meeting the world below in an unbroken line. The hum of the aircraft was steady, comforting in its predictability. But then, in an instant, everything changed. A shadow, barely perceptible at first, darted beneath the plane with impossible speed. The pilot's breath caught in his throat as his instincts kicked in, hands tightening on the controls. What was that? A drone? Another aircraft? A trick of the light? None of those explanations fit. He scanned the sky, looking for a second glimpse of the anomaly, but the space around him was empty, serene, as if nothing had happened at all. His radio crackled to life as he called air traffic control, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Control, I think I just saw something unusual pass beneath my aircraft. Do you have anything on radar?" The response was quick, efficient, and troubling. "Negative. We have nothing in your vicinity." The pilot frowned, gripping the controls tighter. That didn't make sense. He had seen it, felt it, whatever it was. Something had been there, moving at a speed beyond anything he had ever witnessed in his years of flying. He replayed the moment in his head. It wasn't just fast, it was unnaturally smooth, defying the turbulence that should have affected any object moving through the air at such velocity. There was no visible propulsion system, no wings, no standard navigation lights. Just a dark, silent form that vanished as quickly as it had appeared. The unsettling part wasn't just that he had seen it. It was that others had too. Within minutes, reports started coming in from other pilots in the area. Descriptions varied, but the key details were the same: an unidentified object, moving in ways that defied conventional aviation. Something that shouldn't have been there. Something that seemingly disappeared at will. The realization sent a chill through him. He wasn't alone in this sighting. Whatever he had witnessed was being seen by others, and yet there was no official confirmation, no acknowledgement from air traffic control, no explanation. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. His training dictated that he remain calm, logical. He needed data, verification, something tangible to make sense of what he had just experienced. He reached out to his instruments, scanning for anomalies. Nothing. His aircraft's radar showed clear skies. Yet his eyes had told him otherwise. That disconnect between perception and technology was unnerving. He had trusted his instruments for years, relied on them to guide him through countless missions. But in that moment, they had failed him. They had seen nothing. And yet, something had undeniably been there. He knew he wouldn't get answers immediately, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't an isolated incident. There had been too many reports, too many similar encounters over the years. And in each case, the response was the same: silence. Dismissal. A quiet, unspoken understanding that some things simply weren't meant to be explained. But he wasn't willing to accept that. Not yet. He needed to dig deeper, to understand what had just happened. He began researching, looking into other incidents that mirrored his own. What he found only deepened the mystery. Similar sightings had been reported around the world. Pilots, both military and commercial, had encountered objects that moved in ways that defied physics. Instant acceleration, abrupt directional changes, speeds that exceeded known aircraft capabilities, all with no visible means of propulsion. The descriptions were eerily consistent. Objects appearing out of nowhere, moving with unnatural precision, then disappearing without a trace. And in nearly every case, official explanations were vague or non-existent. Reports would be filed, investigations would be promised, but ultimately, nothing would come of them. The events would fade into obscurity, written off as anomalies or misidentifications. But he knew better. He had seen it with his own eyes. And so had countless others. One report stood out to him, the 2004 Nimitz encounter. Navy pilots had tracked and engaged with a tic-tac-shaped craft that moved with capabilities far beyond any known technology. The object had descended from 80,000 feet to just above the ocean surface in mere seconds, then shot off at incredible speed. It had no wings, no visible engines, no exhaust. Yet it maneuvered effortlessly, outperforming some of the most advanced fighter jets in the world. The pilot who had witnessed it firsthand described a feeling of disbelief, much like his own. It wasn't just an unidentified object, it was something that fundamentally challenged everything they understood about flight and propulsion. The more he read, the more he realized just how many of these encounters had been quietly buried, hidden beneath layers of bureaucracy and secrecy. And the deeper he dug, the more disturbing the pattern became. These objects weren't just being seen. They were being observed with increasing frequency, often near military installations, sensitive airspace, and even nuclear facilities. He began reaching out to other pilots, carefully navigating the unspoken rule that these things weren't supposed to be discussed. The stigma around reporting such sightings was palpable. Careers had been jeopardized over less. Yet, to his surprise, many were willing to share their experiences in hushed tones, away from official channels. One pilot recounted an incident over the Atlantic, where an unknown object had paced his aircraft for miles before suddenly veering off at an impossible angle. Another spoke of a massive, silent craft hovering over a remote airstrip, seen by an entire flight crew, yet never acknowledged in any official record. The stories were too numerous, too consistent to ignore. There was something happening in the skies, something beyond conventional explanation. And yet, there was an undeniable effort to suppress these encounters, to keep them out of the public eye. The question was, why? Was this advanced human technology, developed in secret and hidden from the world? If so, why risk exposure by flying so close to commercial and military aircraft? Why exhibit capabilities so far beyond anything publicly acknowledged? And if it wasn't human technology, then what was it? That was the question that lingered in his mind, refusing to be dismissed. If these objects weren't ours, then where did they come from? And more importantly, what was their purpose? As he stared out at the vast expanse of sky, he felt a profound sense of unease. The world was not as simple as he had once believed. There were things out there, moving in the shadows, just beyond the reach of human understanding. And whether by choice or by necessity, those in power had decided to keep that truth hidden. But the skies didn't lie. And neither did those who had seen what